the other thing, aside from having my D&C and for my miscarriage, I miscarried my baby, and then because the baby didn't quote-unquote expel itself after a month, I went in and had to take a pill to see if that would help things move along. And they said that at that point the miscarriage had quote-unquote completed, because they already had checked on the heart, and there was no heart, right, and when I miscarried, and I kept thinking maybe the baby would come back to life. I was reading all these stories about situations where somebody gets put into a casket and they're actually still alive. And I thought, well, maybe it's possible. I mean, maybe, and I think sometimes it is. You want to be very sure. And I was very hopeful about it. And so I asked to have the ultrasound a couple of times because I wanted to be absolutely sure that there was no chance. And I sort of knew because I was having a little bit of discharge here and there, but I just wanted to know. And then I had to have this pill a month later. And then after that, as I say, I had labor pains for about 4 months because it was still an ongoing process and nobody knew, and I was just in a lot of pain from it. And that's when I had to have the D&C about 4 months later. They had to do that because there was nothing else that was going to stop what was still going on, I guess. They had to intervene surgically. And when they did, as I believe I've already mentioned, I had some kind of a metal stent, which I've had confirmed by individuals later, placed into my chest region. I am told that a metal stent to the chest region would go in through the groin. And the only time that anyone had access to the groin in a surgical sense would have been through my D&C. I know that at that time, Alvaro and some individuals already knew, and I think I've already talked about this as well, but I'll just repeat it. They already knew that I had voided the marriage license. And I felt that Alvaro knew this female doctor. She was African American. They exchanged a lot of looks. Intuitively, I knew something bad was happening to me and that they both knew about. But I wasn't sure what it was. I sort of had the idea because of how weird they were acting, I kind of wondered if maybe it had been an opportunity to take some of my ovarian eggs. I mean, I was just wondering. But then since I didn't notice anything differently, I forgot about it. The other thing that happened is after that surgery, we went to Burger King or to McDonald's, one of those drive-through places. I believe it was Burger King. And there was a car behind us. And it was a black man and a black woman, and they looked very mean. I don't know who they were, but they were in a sedan behind us. And they were looking at Alvaro, and Alvaro was looking in his rearview mirror, so he could see them through his rearview mirror. And I had my mirror down because I was checking my makeup, I think. And it was either that or I looked out of the side of the car, you know, the side window that's on the, I don't know what it's called, just that side thing that's attached to the vehicle, to your car. I think I was looking at that. I don't think I actually had the visor down. But it was one thing or the other. And I saw them through the mirror. I looked and I saw that they were making, that they knew Alvaro. And they were really happy about something. It was just, I don't know how to describe it. And it's really hard to describe the sense or feeling that you get from someone's expression and an exchange of expressions and nonverbal communication. So I'm told that women are sometimes better at picking things up like that. And I'm sure some men are very good at it as well. But I saw that they didn't seem to be very nice, and they looked very mean, and were giving sort of kind of jubilant expressions towards Alvaro, sort of like a like yeah, kind of like a that's right, you go, kind of an expression. And both of them, it was like a combination of hatred over something or someone, and feeling triumphant about something at the same time. And then I saw Alvaro looking in his rearview mirror, and he looked, and then he saw their expressions and how they were nodding off over to him. And I remember he got this smile on his face right away. He got a smirk on his face because they were addressing him. They were not just looking vacantly at the back of our car, and they were not looking straight ahead and both making weird expressions to nobody. They were looking directly at Alvaro, knowing that he was looking at them through his rearview mirror. And he acknowledged them and got some kind of satisfaction from it. And I remember feeling sort of guarded at that point, wondering who was that, who were those individuals that look like they hate me or something, or they weren't looking at me. They did not direct their attention to me at all. They were focused on Alvaro. And I just happened to catch a glimpse of them. But I remember thinking, is Alvaro really a good person? I mean, half the time he acted like he was on my side, and he kind of looked out for me and protected me and did a lot of very good things. And sometimes it seemed like he was in love with me and didn't want to be. Other times I wondered if it was just a big act. It was all an act. And that I was, you know, he was putting some other objective ahead of me. I wasn't sure. But I remember in that specific moment, I kind of felt like they had some kind of a game going that I didn't know about, and that was possibly not in my best interest. And I questioned Alvaro's feelings for me at that time. Not romantic feelings, but like his feelings as in motives towards me as a person. That was one of very few times where I saw him exchange something like that, have an exchange like that with other people while I was with him. So it's hard to really read into that a lot and know, but that was just kind of that was a feeling that I had. And I do remember that it happened after I'd had my surgery. And whether or not he knows about something that was done during that surgery, I could not be sure. I don't know if that's what had to do, if that's why, or I don't know. I got my medical records together, I got everything collected. I was glad that came together. I mean, I thought I had most of them. I don't believe they gave me my medical records for my DNC though. They said they weren't finished and we'll give them to you when you get to a doctor for your follow-up care. I believe that I did try to obtain them. I got all of the records from Shady Grove Adventist Hospital right up to that surgery. So, for example, every time that I'd been there before for pain and treatment, because I had a lot of pain with the ongoing being in labor, and the one time that something happened to my lower back and I had to go in, I got all of those records, but what I was told about my miscarriage surgery, the D&C surgery for the miscarriage, was that those were not ready, and I would have them, I'm pretty sure that's what they said, and that I had to have follow-up care in Washington State, and they would send all of that, they'd have it ready and send that to my doctor, and then I could get it then. And I never did look at any of my records for that then. I mean, like, not at that time. And when I got to Washington, I didn't have any follow-up care. I haven't to this day, because I didn't have anyone that I knew to go to, and I didn't have health insurance. I didn't have money to have follow-up care either. And in Wenatchee, I had pretty much been quote-unquote banned from going to any of the clinics. Although when I showed up with Alvaro, a lot of people seemed to treat me differently. And I know that Judge Hotchkiss seemed to like him for some reason, and respected him, or gave him a preliminary kind of respect. And I thought it was really weird that Judge Hotchkiss ordered a metal detector to be put into the entry to his courtroom, because never in the history of Chelan Douglas County had they had that there. I'd had to go to several hearings at that courthouse, and they never once had a metal detector. They may have had one at the very entrance to the courthouse, but I don't think so. And they did have plexiglass, like a safety glass, encircling the clerk's offices for his chambers. And they had guards. But the first time they ever had a metal detector was when Alvaro was going to be showing up with me. And the last time that I had any kind of an experience with a metal detector, or had questions about that, was when this cop or FBI person from Maryland was able to bypass the metal detector, and the guards were waving him through because he was, probably because he was carrying, they already knew who, well, they did know who he was already. And I believe that it's also because he was carrying a concealed weapon, and that it would have gone off if he had gone through the metal detector, and then if I had seen it, it may have tipped me off as to what his position really was. And they were trying to entrap me into a federal crime. He was. And that was the only time that I brought that up and had questions about a metal detector. And then all of a sudden, there's this big to-do about putting in a metal detector just for Alvaro. I think now, looking back, it's sort of maybe to make him seem less connected to the United States government, but he was very connected to the United States government. And when he went with me to the hearing, he had a Hispanic translator. I was very surprised at how eloquent I think that he spoke, how eloquently he spoke. The translator did a very nice job. I think that some of the eloquence is sometimes attributed to how good a translator is. Because you can have someone say something that just sounds beautiful, and if you have a translator that's not very good, it's not going to come across quite as poetically. And if you have someone who is very good, they could probably even make just plain speech sound like it's something out of Isabella Allende, you know, novels.